Okay, let's unpack this. We are about to go on a deep dive today into something, well, something truly extraordinary. We're talking about a complete sacred blueprint for living. And this isn't, a corporate mission statement or some modern self-help book.
Not at all.
We are examining an ancient spiritual tradition that insists that every single action, everything, from brushing your teeth to running a global organization, must be governed by a meticulous code.
A code of ethics and behavior, exactly. And that's our mission for this deep dive. We're exploring what's known as Vaishnava etiquette.
The Sanskrit term is sadhakara, right?
That's right, sadhakara or maryada. And we're looking at it within the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, specifically in the context of ISKCON, the organization founded by Srila Prabhupada.
And the sources we have, they're not just, vague guidelines.
No, they are a comprehensive, systematic codification of these norms. It's basically an absolute roadmap for spiritual integrity.
And that's a really critical distinction we need to make right up front. We are not just talking about social manners here.
Absolutely not.
The Caitanya Charitamrita, which is a key scriptural source, actually describes this etiquette as the ornament of the devotee.
It's a beautiful phrase, isn't it?
Yeah.
It means it's the external visible sign that reflects a genuine, profound internal spiritual state.
So you're saying if the internal state is pure, then the external behavior has to naturally follow this perfect design.
It's a symbiotic relationship.
Mm-hmm.
A disciplined and clean exterior helps maintain that internal focus. And for this entire system, we have two foundational roots.
Okay.
First, you have the source of authority, Srila Prabhupada. He was the one who demanded that his followers, remember, many of them were coming from the counterculture of the 1960s.
Right, from some very tumultuous background.
Exactly. He demanded that they be transformed into perfect gentlemen.
And that mandate was crucial, wasn't it? It wasn't just for, internal harmony in the temples.
No, it was intensely pragmatic as well as spiritual. Prabhupada's mission was global. He needed acceptance, especially in India, where the public was and is very sensitive to behavioral norms.
So he needed his disciples' conduct to be completely exemplary.
Utterly. It was a shield. It protected the movement from criticism and, maybe more importantly, it proved the transformative power of the spiritual path. The etiquette literally protected the mission.
So you have that foundational mandate, and then the sources tell us that His Holiness Bhakti Charaswami acted as a kind of systematic architect.
It's a great way to put it. He compiled all these instructions, bridging ancient scriptural injunctions, things from texts like the Hari Bhakti Vilasa, and he made them practical for modern daily life in a worldwide organization.
And in doing that, he achieved something really essential, didn't he? He emphasized the philosophical approach.
Yes. The core pedagogical concept here is that true understanding is not just about following a rule, it's about grasping the principles behind the rules.
Ah, so the why of the rule, not just the what. What happens if you get stuck on just the what?
Well, if you only focus on the letter of the law, you run the risk of fanaticism.
Right, just following rules blindly without any context.
Exactly, without considering the time, the place, the circumstance. But on the other hand, if you just ignore the rules entirely, you risk negligence. You just slide back into old material habits.
So the principle is the guide.
The principle, which is always love, devotion, and service, has to inform the application. Understanding the why allows a devotee to apply the what correctly, whether they're in, New York City or a small temple in rural India.
The rule is the scaffolding, but the principle is the spirit that gives it meaning. Okay, so let's start with that spirit then, that inner sanctum, because it seems the entire external structure flows from this expected internal state of mind. So the foundation is really laid with what the sources call the ontology of behavior.
Yes. The belief is that the soul, the jiva, is eternally a servant of the Supreme Lord, Krishna.
Okay.
Therefore, its original pure nature is service and humility. And this etiquette, this sadhakara, is the mechanism designed to scrape away the material ego and reawaken that spiritual identity.
The sources are pretty direct about this.
They're definitive. The internal consciousness of a devotee is directly and irrevocably manifested by their external actions.
So no hiding. You can't be a spiritual giant on the inside and a jerk on the outside.
The behavior is the mirror. There's no escaping it.
Which brings us to the prime directive, really the hallmark of the tradition, humility and tolerance.
Yeah.
And this is a standard that, it sounds beautiful, but it seems almost impossible to maintain 2047.
It is the ultimate spiritual challenge. The essential instruction codified by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself is that one must be humbler than a blade of grass and more tolerant than a tree.
And also desiring no respect for yourself, but always giving respect to others.
Amanina manadina, that's the formula.
That image of the tree is just so profound. It's used all the time to explain spiritual advancement, isn't it?
It is, and for good reason. Think of a fruit tree. When it has no fruit, it stands up straight and tall, almost demanding attention.
Right.
But as it becomes laden with mature, ripe fruit, the branches naturally bend low. They offer their bounty humbly to anyone who approaches.
So in the same way as devotee advances.
Exactly. The sources say that as a devotee becomes laden with the fruit of knowledge and devotion, their conduct becomes more gentle. They naturally bow down, becoming humble even in a responsible position. It completely inverts the material model where more power equals more arrogance.
This humility, it doesn't just dictate how you act, but how you actually perceive the world. The standard for Vaishnava is to be a dosadarsi. Can you break that term down for us?
A dosadarsi means one who sees no faults in others.
None.
The ideal is that the true Vaishnava is expected to accept only the good qualities in others. While every human being, even a devotee, still has faults from past conditioning, the Vaishnava's eye should be focused scrutinizingly only on their own defects.
So you're strict only with yourself.
Strictly critical only of yourself, but you accept only the glories and the positive service attitudes of others.
Okay, but this raises a serious practical question, especially when we get to the management section later. How does a Vaishnava leader maintain this posture of seeing no faults while also running an organization that needs corrective action, discipline, maybe even critique?
That is the essential tension that the etiquette is designed to navigate. A dosadarsi applies to your personal transactions and the disposition of your heart. Internally, you accept that the person is fundamentally a pure spirit soul and that their faults are accidental, temporary, born of material entanglement.
But in a management context?
In a management context like running a temple, you have a duty to correct deviations in the service. This is not a personal fault-finding mission. The critique has to be focused on the action, on the service itself, for the greater good of the mission. And it must be delivered with affection, treating the subordinate like a younger brother, not judging the person.
You have to separate the soul from the temporary action.
That requires massive emotional intelligence. You have to be incredibly hard on the work, but incredibly soft on the person.
The risk of getting it wrong seems huge. Which brings us to the ultimate catastrophic consequence, the mad elephant offense.
This is the absolute peak of gravity in Vaishnava etiquette, Vaishnava aparada, offense against a devotee.
And the sources are really clear about this.
Extremely clear. This is the only real stumbling block in spiritual life. Offending a sincere devotee is so dangerous that it's compared to a mad elephant entering a beautiful garden.
What does it do?
It just uproots and destroys everything. The entire devotional creeper, wiping out years of spiritual advancement in a single careless act. This awareness is why the etiquette demands such sobriety and care.
The sources even detail 4 specific kinds of blasphemy from the text Haranama Sintamani. It's a meticulous list.
It's exhaustive, yes. The first is faulting a Vaishnava based on his apparent low birth. If someone was born outside a Brahminical family or in what was considered a materially degraded background, criticizing them for that is a major offense. Spiritual status completely trumps material birthright.
Which must have been absolutely crucial in the early days of ISK Khan.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It totally invalidates casteism. The second is blaspheming them for their previous faults. If a devotee committed sins in the past, but is now committed to pure spiritual life, bringing up those old mistakes is an offense. It denies the very power of devotion to transform someone.
So you can't hold someone's past against them if they've moved on.
Precisely.
Yeah.
The third category is criticizing him for an accidental fault. Devotees are still practicing. They aren't perfect. If they make an honest mistake or a lapse in judgment, to magnify that fault, to turn it into a character assassination, that is aparada.
And the fourth?
The fourth is blaspheming him for faults that are almost entirely rectified. Meaning, even if they show tiny, tiny vestiges of a former negative quality, to focus on that vanishing flaw rather than their overall spiritual transformation is a serious offense.
The awareness required it's dizzying. It essentially forces the devotee to adopt that Adosa Darsi vision at all times because the alternative is spiritual ruin.
It is.
But what if it happens? If this catastrophic offense is committed, there must be a way back. What's the protocol for reconciliation?
It demands total submission. The transgressor must earnestly seek forgiveness by physically holding the feet of the offended Vaishnava.
And this isn't just a symbol.
No, it is a physically demanding act. It represents the complete dissolution of the ego and accepting one's own low position. The texts say the offended Vaishnava, being naturally merciful, is then expected to immediately embrace the offender and forgive them, which nullifies the whole transgression.
That's powerful. Now, this intense focus on meekness and tolerance seems absolute, but then you get this description of a Vaishnava as being soft as a rose petal and as hard as a thunderbolt.
Yes,
When does the rose petal vanish and the thunderbolt strike?
the thunderbolt is reserved for defending the spiritual principle, specifically for defending the guru or another Vaishnava from blasphemy. While you must be humble in your personal dealings, blasphemy against a higher personality or the Lord himself requires immediate, forceful, and non-personal opposition.
And the key historical example of this is Lord Caitanya confronting Jagai and Madhai.
A perfect example. Jagai and Madhai were two rogues who attacked Nityananda Prabhu, severely injuring him. Now, Nityananda Prabhu, embodying that tolerance, immediately forgave them.
He was the rose petal.
Exactly. But when Lord Caitanya heard about the offense against his closest associate, he became immediately and intensely angry. He summoned his divine weapon, the Sudarshana Chakra, and wanted to kill them on the spot.
He became the thunderbolt.
His anger wasn't personal. It was to defend the honor of his servant and the mission. It was Nityananda Prabhu who then had to plead for the rogues' lives, maintaining the principle of mercy. It's a beautiful juxtaposition.
The etiquette actually outlines 3 immediate actions one must take if blasphemy happens in front of you.
Yes, a radical scale of reaction. First, if you're skilled enough, you must stop the offender with high arguments and superior reason. Challenge them logically.
And if you can't,
If you're not expert enough to win the argument, the second, very extreme option is to give up one's life on the spot, choosing death over hearing the blasphemy. It emphasizes the gravity. And the final, most practical option, if the first 2 are impossible, is to immediately go away. The non-negotiable principle is that a sincere devotee must never listen to blasphemy against a superior.
this intensity really underscores that this etiquette is all about protection.
It protects the self, the community, and the mission.
Okay, let's move from this internal state of mind to the complex structure of the spiritual family that this behavior is meant to support.
Right, so when a soul with this kind of character enters a community, the entire society has to be organized to maintain that high standard. And Vaishnava society is meticulously structured based on spiritual achievement and relationship. It completely transcends material status.
And this gives rise to the whole system of Maryada, of respect.
Exactly.
So how is seniority determined in a society where things like wealth or even age don't matter as much?
Within a community of godbrothers, that is, those initiated by the same guru, seniority is determined purely by the date of initiation.
That's the only metric.
That's the metric. Those initiated earlier receive respect from their juniors, and in turn, the seniors must reciprocate with affection, protection, and blessings. It's a system designed to ensure a continuous flow of spiritual wisdom and responsibility.
And this structure is immediately visible through the use of mandated formal titles.
Yes, the titles constantly reinforce this hierarchy of respect. The founder, Srila Prabhupada, is addressed as His Divine Grace. A sannyasi, a fully renounced monk, is His Holiness. And they occupy a position of utmost respect, superior to all other temple residents.
And even godbrothers address each other formally.
As His Grace, yes. These titles aren't just empty honorifics, they're constant reminders of the spiritual hierarchy you're operating within.
But the core ethos of all interactions seems to be captured in that one word, Prabhu. What's the philosophical weight of calling everyone master?
Prabhu literally means master, and the underlying philosophy is beautifully paradoxical. Everyone is meant to accept others as their master, while at the same time maintaining their own identity as a servant of the actual Supreme Master, Krishna.
So you see everyone else as the master and yourself as the servant.
Yes, and the sources explicitly warn against using the term mechanically. The intention is that when you call someone Prabhu, you must genuinely try to feel yourself to be their servant. This attitude prevents ego clashes and ensures congenial, cooperative relationships.
It sounds like that Vaikuntha attitude you mentioned earlier, this idea of inverted competition.
That is precisely the goal. In the spiritual world, Vaikuntha, the devotees only compete to see who can serve others better. The mentality is, wow, my friends are serving so nicely, let me intensify my own efforts.
And if friction does arise,
If any misgivings or friction come up, the devotee's duty is simply to overlook the fault, returning to that Adosadarsi principle, and focus entirely on serving and helping their godbrother's mission.
let's turn to the relationship that bears the most spiritual weight of all, the guru-disciple relationship.
This is absolutely fundamental. The disciple must respect the guru as God, not that he is the supreme being, but as God's confidential, empowered representative.
And it extends beyond the guru.
Yes, the disciple must also offer due respect to the guru's god brothers, treating them as the guru. The whole relationship is based on submission, service, and inquiry. The very word disciple is related to discipline, and the guru chastises a disciple not out of anger, but because it's their duty to guide the student back to purity.
And there are very strict rules to prevent the disciple from ever, elevating themselves above the guru.
Absolutely. The first major prohibition is that disciples should never try to instruct or advise their spiritual master. The Chaitanya Charitamrita gives a stern warning about this, citing the example of someone trying to advise their guru. It was considered a major spiritual offense in Aparada.
The second prohibition has to do with lineage and the expansion of the mission.
That's right. A disciple should not initiate their own new disciples while their spiritual master is physically present and active. Any prospective disciple should be brought to the spiritual master.
Why is that so important?
It ensures that the spiritual lineage remains pure and that the disciple doesn't prematurely take on the heavy responsibility of being a guru, maybe just out of a desire for honor or prestige.
This all ties into a technical term, Maryada Vyatakrama. Can you explain that concept and why the tradition takes it so seriously?
Maryada Vyatakrama means surpassing or disrespecting a superior authority. It's a core rule of this transcendental science. You should not be eager to impart instructions in the presence of a higher personality, even if you are perfectly competent to do so.
The universe is structured by respect.
And the Lord doesn't tolerate this kind of impertinence. The source gives a brilliant example from the Srimad Bhagavatam with Uddhava.
Right, tell us about that.
So Uddhava was Lord Krishna's most confidential and highly learned devotee. He was instructing someone, an older person. However, Uddhava was aware that Maitreya Z, another great spiritual authority and an older person, was nearby.
So he had a choice to make.
He did. And Uddhava, despite being totally competent and having the authority to continue, he paused his teaching and directed his student to go and approach Maitreya Z instead.
Why? Why would he do that?
Because by referring the student to Maitreya, Uddhava upheld the honor due to an older, superior spiritual master. He avoided the transgression of Maryada Vyatakrama just for the sake of his own fame or recognition. And that action, that humility, actually confirmed his own high spiritual standing.
So, shifting to the organization itself, ISK Khan is a spiritual family, but it's also a global institution that needs management. What's the core mandate for leaders?
They must constantly remember that the goal is service, not exploitation. In the material world, a higher position means more power, more privilege.
Right.
In ISK Khan, a higher position is meant to mean greater service and greater responsibility. The leader must purely represent the principles and the instructions of Srila Prabhupada.
And what are the necessary qualities for that leadership?
It has to be based on spiritual qualification and spotless character. A leader should primarily be a dedicated, mature preacher. If their character is pure and they're committed to the message, followers will trust them inherently.
And their attitude towards their subordinates?
They have to feel genuine empathy for their followers, treating them not as employees, but as younger, dependent brothers who need affectionate guidance.
So how is the practical management structured? Is it authoritarian or more collaborative?
It's described as a balance of both autocratic and democratic. Autocratic in the sense that there has to be discipline, duty, and clear adherence to the guru's instructions. But democratic in that, leaders must be open to new ideas, to consultation, to feedback.
And Prabhupada warned his top managers about becoming too powerful.
He did. He strongly advised his GBC members against becoming absorbed in administrative power. They had to lead with detachment and duty, setting the ultimate example of a renunciant serving the mission, not ruling an empire.
For any global nonprofit, financial integrity is absolutely crucial. What are the non-negotiable rules for organizational trust here?
Transparency and accountability are paramount. The sources are extremely explicit. First, all incoming funds, donations, collections, whatever, must be declared before the deities, Srila Prabhupada, and the entire Vaishnava community.
So there are no secrets?
No secrets. This prevents any perception of private appropriation. Second, for legal and spiritual accountability, there must be multiple signatories for bank accounts and for buying property. All funds collected must be immediately deposited and then spent from that official bank account.
That level of transparency seems designed to prevent the kind of internal strife that can tear organizations apart.
Exactly. The mission is based on trust. which leads directly to the absolute necessity of cooperation, not competition, between centers and leaders. Prabhupada warned, and I'm quoting here, "If you cannot work together, then my work is stopped up."
Fighting among God brothers is dangerous.
Extremely dangerous. He said it can spoil the whole spiritual program. The society has to function as one big family based on love, trust, forbearance, and tolerance.
We talked about humility, but there's a really sharp warning against theft, even if someone tries to rationalize it for a spiritual purpose.
This is a critical ethical boundary. The rule is strictly against stealing anything: money, food, water, gasoline, even under the pretense of enhancing service to Krishna.
The logic being.
You can't commit a sin to perform a pious act. The means will always corrupt the end.
And there's an anecdote you mentioned about Balyogi Guru Maharaji that really illustrates the consequence of even a small theft.
Yes. The incident is cited to show how a seemingly small transgression can jeopardize the mission's public standing. Balyogi Guru Maharaji was a contemporary spiritual leader in the 70s with a large following. But his entire public preaching effort was ruined when customs authorities caught him smuggling a tiny amount of gold or some other small, valuable items.
And Prabhupada used this as a teaching moment.
He used it to warn his devotees. Even a foolish, small act of illegal stealing can utterly dismantle the high reputation the community has worked so hard to establish. The public sees the organization's character through the spotless behavior of its members. So having covered that internal character and the external structure, we now enter the realm of daily ritual purity. This is where the commitment to the spiritual life becomes intensely physical.
Right, cleanliness or shoka.
Shoka, exactly. It covers both external hygiene and internal purity. It's considered next to godliness, and it's a non-negotiable daily responsibility.
And this rigor immediately dictates the pace of the devotee's day. It starts intensely early.
Mandatory rising time is before 4 a.m., specifically for the morning program, which begins with Mangala Arati. And the initial sequence of the day is rigid purification. As soon as you wake up, you must brush your teeth, scrape your tongue, and take a full bath.
It's a constant purification.
It is. It ensures the body, which is the instrument of service, is ready to be used transcendentally.
The sources are also very clear on when a full bath is required due to what's considered major contamination.
Yes, there are 3 key events that necessitate a full bath: after passing stool, after copulating, even with one's own spouse, and after going to a crematorium or a funeral ground. These are seen as major sources of contamination that require complete ritual cleansing before you re-engage in spiritual activities.
But the detail goes even further, covering minor, repeated acts of cleansing the hands, feet, and mouth.
This is where the attention to detail is remarkable. There are precise rules for minor washing, like washing hands and feet after passing urine. But most interestingly, your hands, feet, and mouth must be washed before and after eating prasadam.
And the reason for this is the concept of jifa, right? Contamination through contact.
That's it.
That's the concept I wanted to dive into. What is the philosophical justification for needing to wash your hands after just drinking water?
This rule beautifully illustrates the principle of constant purity. When you drink water from a cup, your lips touch the cup, making the cup, and by extension, everything it touches temporarily contaminated, or jia, in a material sense.
So because your hand held the cup.
The contamination transfers slightly to the hand. Therefore, to ensure that the hand is pure before you return to service, you have to wash your hands even after drinking water. This isn't about physical dirt. It's about maintaining a consciousness free from even minor material entanglement through contact.
It transforms hygiene into a spiritual exercise in awareness. And there's a basic rule about how the body interacts with food and drink.
Always use the right hand for eating and drinking. The left hand is reserved for cleansing the body after passing waste and is therefore considered less pure. So even if a devotee is naturally left-handed, they have to train themselves to use the right hand for consuming prasadam.
Okay, let's move to the sanctity of the temple room itself. If the body has such strict standards, the space dedicated to the divine must be even more so.
Absolutely. The foundational rule is that everything must be kept nice and clean. Before you touch anything belonging to Krishna deity, paraphernalia, scriptures, offerings, you must wash your hands.
And sleeping in the temple room.
Strictly prohibited. The temple is for service and glorification, not for rest.
And regarding the quality of the service, who performs that vital act of cooking for the deities?
The sources really stress the sanctity of the cook's consciousness. Only twice initiated Brahmin disciples should cook for the deities because their internal purity is paramount. The use of paid cooks is seen as undesirable, regardless of their culinary skill.
Why is that?
Because a person's consciousness and their motivation inevitably enter the food they prepare. The offering must be made in a spirit of pure devotion, which a paid employee simply can't guarantee.
So with such complex, detailed service, how does a devotee know if their efforts are actually pleasing to the Lord? Is there some kind of external certification?
There's an internal barometer. The sources state that if the deities appear to be in a very pleasing mood, often described as their faces appearing serene, radiant, and happy, it certifies the quality and sincerity of the service being rendered.
And conversely,
If the deities appear in a different mood, maybe somber or unkempt, it signals immediate and serious discrepancies in the service being performed.
shifting to group practice, let's distinguish between the two types of congregational chanting, kirtana and bhajana.
Kirtana is defined as the enthusiastic, public, and congregational glorification of Sri Hari by singing, often with instruments and dancing. Vajana, on the other hand, is generally when only one person sings, often in a more meditative or intimate setting.
And in both cases, the focus is not on the performer.
Never. The focus must be on glorifying Krishna, never the leader or the singer. Humility dictates that the leader should only lead when requested to serve, because they naturally prefer the position of following the lead of the holy name.
The sources also detail specific musical rules. Why is musical regulation so important here?
The music has to support the primary function, which is the glorification of the holy name, not entertainment. The approved instruments instructed by Srila Prabhupada are the karatal, cymbals, the mridanga, drum, and the jampa, hand clappers.
And there's a critical rule about the volume.
A critical rule.
Yeah.
The instruments must never drown out the holy name. They have to follow the leader and support the chanting. They must never become the main focus.
I noticed the harmonium is specifically addressed.
Yes, the harmonium is discouraged for kirtana because it can dominate the soundscape, but it's considered acceptable for bhajana, where the focus is more on contemplative singing.
And the dancing.
Dancing should be enthusiastic, with raised hands, following the example set by the Pankatattva Lord Caitanya and his associates.
Finally, let's dedicate some time to the fortnightly duty of observing Ekadasi. This is far more complex than just a simple fast.
It is a critical austerity. The practice means fasting, not just abstaining from grains. As a devotee advances, they're encouraged to observe nirjala, a complete fast from all food and water, and to try and stay awake for the entire 24 hours chanting.
And the purpose of that physical austerity.
It's to free up the body's energy to focus intensely on spiritual sound vibration.
And there is a highly technical astronomical rule about calculating the day itself, which often confuses newcomers. This is the pure Ekadasi rule.
This is one of the most important elements of Sadhakara. Ekadasi is the 11th day of the lunar cycle. The rule states that you must observe a pure Ekadasi. If the 10th day, the Dasami, overlaps or penetrates the 11th day, even for a few moments at sunrise, it's considered mixed.
And if the day is mixed?
You do not fast on that day.
So when do you fast?
You fast instead on the 12th day, the Devasi. This is then considered a Mahadevasi, meaning it carries tremendous potency, 1,000 times more powerful than fasting on a regular, unmixed Ekadasi. This rule ensures the spiritual benefit is maximized and the austerity is performed on the precise, astronomically clean day intended for intense devotional activity. It removes all ambiguity.
The level of care that we've seen applied to the body in the temple is now focused onto food. Prasadam food offered to the Lord. It isn't just blessed food, is it? It has a philosophical status that's non-negotiable.
That's right. Prasadam is considered non-different from Krishna himself. The analogy used is that it is the diet for curing material disease.
So by eating it, you're purifying yourself.
You're purifying your entire existence and overcoming the contamination of eating for mere sense gratification. Before eating, the devotee has to recite the Sarira Avidya Jal prayer, offering thanks and meditating on Krishna's mercy and how he tasted the offering.
And the rules for honoring prasadam are designed to consciously transform the act of eating into spiritual nourishment.
They turn a biological necessity into a sacred ritual. First, the atmosphere has to be focused. You don't talk while eating, except to glorify Krishna and his prasadam. The focus must be entirely on the mercy being received.
And reverence for the food itself.
Absolutely. You don't commit the offense of throwing prasadam or touching it with your feet. It is the Lord's mercy and must be treated with reverence.
And Srila Prabhupada gave a very specific, almost scientific rule for dietary balance designed to combat gluttony.
He did. It's a brilliant rule for self-control. Fill 1/2 of your stomach with food, 1/4 with water, and leave the last 1/4 empty for air. Do not overeat.
And that prevents what?
It prevents the laziness and the mental dullness that follow excessive eating. It ensures that the devotee remains alert for service.
And there are also strict rules governing water consumption relative to the meal.
Yes, you should drink water 1 hour before eating. Water inhibits digestion when you consume it during the meal. If you absolutely have to drink something immediately after eating, it should be something hot, like warm milk or tea, to aid digestion.
Now, let's talk about the serving of Prasadam, which involves an entire protocol aimed at maximum spiritual benefit, efficiency, and zero waste.
It's an astounding system, really, drawing from the ancient Vedic model. The rule is to cook only what is required for the people present. And when serving, the servers initially place very small portions on the plates.
Small portions at the beginning.
Yeah.
Why is that crucial?
It achieves 2 goals. Spiritually, it prevents gluttony, because you're not faced with this massive pile of food that psychologically pressures you to eat beyond your capacity. And practically, it ensures absolutely no waste, because everyone only takes what they know they can finish when they're ready for it.
Who are the qualified servers and who eats first?
Servers have to be qualified devotees who are peaceful and satisfied. The sources actually state that if a server is hungry, they should eat before serving to make sure they aren't distracted or agitated.
And the order of service?
Seniors, old people, and children should always be served first. Householders have the specific duty of serving any guest present before they themselves eat.
The detailed serving order of the various preparations is fascinating. It's clearly based on balancing flavors and digestion.
It's a precise science, rooted in Ayurvedic principles. You always serve water first. Then, the order is designed to optimize digestion and palate satisfaction.
Yeah, so what comes first?
You start with bitter preparations, like sukta, which prepare the digestive fire, then astringent items like spinach. After that, fried preparations and dal, then various spicy vegetables, followed by sour items, and finally, the sweet preparations.
And staples like rice and bread.
Things like rice and chapatis should already be on the plate or distributed continuously. This whole sequence ensures a complete and balanced meal that's satisfying without being heavy.
Let's discuss contamination control during the distribution process, which is incredibly strict.
It is non-negotiable. The central rule is, never touch the plates with the serving spoon. If a serving spoon accidentally touches a devotee's plate, that spoon is immediately considered contaminated jua, and it must be washed before being used again.
So the servers have to be incredibly alert.
Incredibly precise and alert. And also, salt should never be served by hand, only with a spoon.
And the cleanliness extends beyond the moment the meal is finished.
Yes, the area where prasadam was taken must be cleaned immediately. Devotees traditionally eat on the floor using disposable leaf plates. You should never step over the area where that plate was because it's considered contaminated until cleaned.
And if you do accidentally?
You must wash your feet immediately before entering any sacred spaces.
This intense focus on serving and minimizing one's own enjoyment brings us back to that powerful anecdote about Srila Prabhupada's godbrother, Ananda.
Ananda's behavior is the ultimate definition of the Vaishnava service attitude. He was known for cooking and serving the most sumptuous feasts for Prabhupada and his disciples. He would serve everyone continuously, making sure every single person was fully satisfied.
Offering seconds and thirds?
With great care. And he often worked so tirelessly and with such focus that he himself would only sit down to eat last after everyone else was completely satisfied and all the serving was finished.
And what was Prabhupada's reaction to this?
Prabhupada often held Ananda up as the ideal. He remarked, "This is Vaishnava, how he should act. He is more satisfied to serve than to enjoy himself." And that story, it just encapsulates the entire purpose of sadhakara, transforming self-centered actions into selfless service and finding the greatest pleasure in seeing others satisfied.
So we started with the inner sanctum, we moved through the structure and the ritual, and our final section deals with the public face of devotion, which, as we established earlier, reflects directly on the entire movement and on Srila Prabhupada.
Public conduct is mission critical. The devotee's behavior must be utterly self-controlled, representing that perfect gentleman at all times. This is where the principles of humility and tolerance are put to the ultimate test in the face of public scrutiny or provocation.
The standard for emotional control seems exceptionally high.
You must never lose your temper in public, no matter the frustration. Humility and tolerance must always prevail over anger and annoyance. Devotees are expected to display an ideal character, to demonstrate the sacrifice and the spiritual welfare that motivates their entire life, so that the public sees the positive transformative effect of Krishna consciousness.
And there are specific prohibitions regarding mundane activities in public spaces.
Yes, do not eat in public places. Furthermore, the sources caution against sitting in public places just for discussion, relaxation, or passing time mundanely.
Why that specifically?
While devotees are encouraged to use modern amenities, cars, apartments, technology for Krishna's service, they mustn't appear attached to them or indulge in mundane activities in public view, which could give the impression of just ordinary, lazy material life.
How should a devotee engage with the media or with the challenging critics? This is often a high-stress situation where you feel compelled to defend yourself or the organization.
The objective is never simply to win an argument or get a good quote. When you're questioned by journalists or challenging individuals, the objective is to speak to them as spirit souls with the aim of reawakening their Krishna consciousness. And the attitude must be submissive.
Can you elaborate on that required attitude? There's that anecdote about Prabhupada and the challenging journalist.
Yes, Srila Prabhupada's approach was very firm but philosophical. When a young man approached him with challenging, disrespectful questions, Prabhupada didn't immediately answer the substance of the critique. Instead, he demanded that the man first approach Krishna's representative with the proper attitude.
Which is?
By serving, by being submissive, and then by inquiring, not by simply asking challenging questions in an aggressive tone. The etiquette dictates that the manner of the inquiry determines whether the spiritual knowledge will even be imparted.
This sets the context for all external interactions. How should devotees greet others in the secular world, the karmis?
The greeting depends on the relationship. If the secular person, the karmi, is a friend, you greet them with Hare Krishna and folded hands touching your forehead. If the karmi is a superior relative, the devotee should offer the full traditional reverence by chanting Hare Krishna and bowing down to them on the ground.
And what if a member of the public, maybe impressed by the discipline, tries to offer that full prostrated obeisance to the devotee?
A devotee should always try to avoid allowing anyone to touch their feet, always remembering that they are just servants. However, if the person insists and it becomes unavoidable, the devotee must accept it humbly by immediately remembering their predecessor Acharyas and spiritual masters.
So they accept it on behalf of the lineage.
Exactly. They accept the obeisance as a reflection of respect toward the spiritual lineage, not themselves, and they immediately return a namaskar with folded hands. And beyond these major interactions, the sources include a long list of general don'ts regarding public speech and physical mannerisms that reinforce that ideal of gentlemanly conduct.
It's a comprehensive guide to social harmony.
It is. The principles are to avoid creating offense or disturbance. Don't use unpleasant words and absolutely never tell a lie, even a so-called pleasant one. Don't speak ill of others. Regarding physical control, don't laugh or pass air loudly in public. Don't sneeze or yawn without conscientiously covering your mouth.
And the instruction on dealing with people who are suffering or less fortunate is also very specific.
One should not mock or insult people who are foolish, distressed, ugly, cunning, lame, or fallen. Compassion is the guiding principle. If the devotee is insulted by someone, the instruction is clear. Leave the place silently. Never engage in a counter-argument or praise yourself.
Ultimately, this entire strict structure of conduct seems to serve a single higher purpose: public compassion.
Public compassion is the highest etiquette of all. Distributing mercy, whether it's through the Sankirtana movement of public chanting or initiatives like Food for Life, is the essence of all dealings. This visible service raises the standing of the community immensely.
And there's that anecdote about the devotees in Grozny.
Right, where their unwavering compassion in distributing aid in such a challenging area led them to be recognized simply as saints. A Vaishnava is defined as one who never causes harm, but always tries to do good to others. So, we have completed a deep dive into an extraordinary system of intentional living. We've mapped the philosophical core, that necessity of internal humility, adua sadarsi, and the avoidance of that great offense, aparada.
And we explored the structural ethics of the community and management, everything from the hierarchy of titles to the non-negotiable rules of financial transparency and cooperation.
And we saw the sanctity of daily ritual, from that 4 a.m. joko to the precise, non-wasteful service of prasadam.
It seems really clear that this entire structure, this sadhakara, is designed not just for moral rectitude, but to maintain the devotee in the mode of goodness and prevent that single greatest spiritual obstruction offense against another devotee.
It is the sophisticated mechanism that ensures advancement toward spiritual life without serious obstruction. The constant, overarching rule is that you must never take or use anything that has not been offered to Krishna. Every action, every decision, every bite of food has to be linked to the divine to maintain purity and clarity of consciousness.
So if this tradition mandates connecting every single daily activity, even the most mundane things like hygiene, to a higher purpose, all to ensure spiritual and mental clarity, let's leave you with this provocative thought.
Okay?
What essential modern activity that seems totally disconnected from a higher purpose might be the biggest hidden obstacle to your own clarity? We rely so heavily today on digital communication, constant media consumption, or rigorous time management. What is that one mundane thing you rely on daily that you could consciously, deliberately connect to a higher principle or duty?
Because that practice of conscious application, transcending the mundane by linking it to a greater meaning, that is where the deep dive into living etiquette truly begins for you.